Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're all very welcome here. On behalf of NSAI, delighted to have the whole group here working all week, and as Mary said, to be able to facilitate this seminar workshop this afternoon to bring together the industry in Ireland with the international community working on the standards. So I'm delighted to be here and learn a little bit myself. It's an area I know very little about. To understand a little bit more on the role of standards and the role standards can play in the hugely important biotechnology industry and research community. First of all, Minister Pat Breen was going to be here, and he's asked me to extend his apologies. He was due to speak this afternoon, but he's been called away. There's a vote on the finance bill. So for those of you not from Ireland, very important. It determines our tax rates and our public services for the rest of the year. So there's important votes in the Parliament this afternoon. So unfortunately, he can't be here, but he does send his best wishes and support for the work. I'd like to thank the members of the ISO committee, including one of our Irish representatives, Emma Snapes, who was mentioned already, who will later update you on how this new standard will benefit industry and research professionals alike, maybe with a little bit of an Irish perspective on that. And as Mary said, I do think it's rather fitting that we're here in such a historical setting. As you're on a journey, you're trying to make history, you're starting the process of making history in creating the first international standards in your particular space. So what a good place to work on the process. Over 800 years, this building, Dublin Castle, has been at the heart of Irish history, and before that, this area was very much a centre, a part of Viking Dublin. So from the very founding of the first Celtic settlement in the 1st century AD, here, this building, this place you're standing, has been very important. And every single presidential inauguration in Ireland since the foundation of the state has taken place here. So it has been witness to some of the most pivotal events in Irish history. And you got a little bit of a flavour of that from what Mary said in the last couple of days. It was renovated in the last 10 or 15 years by the wonderful Office of Public Works in Ireland here, so that we can all enjoy the building at its very best and restore its beauty and use it for historical events and also modern. What more modern, high-tech, future-looking event could we possibly have than a seminar on biotechnology? So I think it's a wonderful juxtaposition there to have it in this old castle. So I hope that's been the setting has been somewhat inspirational during the week and kind of got those juices flowing to develop new standards, which is always an art in itself. So biotechnology, I mean, I'm preaching to the converted, but obviously it is one of the key enabling technologies that the rest of us not involved in the technology really hope will deliver solutions and long-term benefits to society in the future, and I think it will. So many different sectors will benefit: medicine, agri-food, energy, biotechnology, production of chemicals. These are all exciting areas and with huge potential for the future. Regenerative medicine, for example, is one that many of us would have heard of even in the wider circle of society, and it's so exciting, and it's such a prominent high-value area for biotechnology. And that's the process of creating living, functional tissues to repair and replace tissues and organs functions when they're damaged. I mean, it's so extraordinary. You can probably see there's a virus here over my shoulder, and I'm told it could either be a bad virus or it could be a good virus, depending on where we are in the whole process. But I'm going to stop there, because if I go any further into the analogy, I'm going to be too deep into it. But I'm sure there's plenty of people here who understand the subtlety of it all. But you may not see it every day of the week, but it's so exciting for people outside, and it puts a heavy responsibility on your shoulders when it comes to developments like developing standards and trying to bring the work forward as quickly as possible. And the research of today will obviously be the new methods, the new medicines, the new treatments, the new vaccines of the future. And that is a heavy responsibility on your shoulders. And that's why, in my opinion, as the head of the National Standards Body, that it's essential that this industry, its researchers and scientists work to the best international standards and develop the best international standards. The technology is well advanced. It's been developed and progressed over the last number of years, last couple of decades, and now really it is very timely, and it is great that you're taking the initiative and bringing it into the world of standards that has proven so beneficial to so many other sectors and other technologies over the years. What will standards do? Well, standards, especially in the early phases, really do accelerate the process of bringing about a common understanding in terms, definitions used in the sector. What about standardizing the analytical methodology, test methods, results, how things are presented? All these maybe, perhaps you might see them as slightly peripheral to your core work, but they're very important, because unless you can talk in the same language around the world, you're not going to be able to share the research and share the knowledge and progress it as fast as it would otherwise be done. And I can tell you from lots of other sectors that developed and only retrospectively tried to go back and standardize their terminology and their methodology, they're really in trouble, because it's very hard to do it retrospectively. How do you measure the carbon footprint of every country and every industry around the world? Anybody know? We're all talking about it. Are we going from 1% to 2%? Can you measure it? You can't measure it. There is no agreement worldwide, and we're only just establishing an agreement worldwide now, how you measure something as fundamental as that. So governments are signing the Paris Protocol that will keep the level of emissions below certain things, and we can't measure, we can't agree worldwide and sector-wide how it's to be done. You're at the beginning. You have a chance to get it right before the industry really blossoms. So the development standards in this area, as in every other area, will certainly contribute to society, the economy, the regulatory environment, and further enhancement of the biotechnology industry. And the regulatory environment, just to stop on that one for a second, people are always concerned about the linkage and overlap between standards and regulation, and biotechnology is, of course, a hugely regulated sector. Standards very often are a way of working beside, are separate to regulation, and it's a way sometimes for the industry to really get together and get ahead and put its shape on how the technology should be defined and how the standards should be defined in a way that regulators can be comfortable with and can refer to. And actually good standards is a way of having regulators very comfortable to let the industry and let the researchers do the right thing and give maybe more scope and more freedom than often is the case if there are no standards there. We've had that experience again and again, and it's something I think you'll see as it develops in this sector. So, I mean, there are best practice guidelines aplenty, and they've been established in various fields of biotechnology, but as I understand it anyway, you're at the start of the process. There are at this point no internationally agreed standards as yet, and thankfully with your work this week and over this year and in the time to come, this will become a thing of the past. So I'd like to thank the International Committee and their work here this week. I know, again, how much of a task it is, and it can be quite stressful and quite demanding, and it is not a holiday in sunny Dublin, I can tell you. It is hard work, and it's bringing the best international minds together for the benefit of an even broader community. So we really thank you for your dedication and commitment, and thank you again for coming in today and sharing some of the particular knowledge you have with the wider group that's in the audience today. So for those who are here today and haven't been involved, during the week we've had something like 120 experts here from all over the world, 26 different countries represented, working here in Dublin Castle in a number of different breakout sessions and workshops to continue the work on developing the international standard. The ISO Technical Committee began some time ago, back in December 2013, and later the chair of the committee, Dr. Ricardo Gent, will talk to you and will update you on how the work is progressing and what areas have been covered. And that does touch on areas such as biobanking, an area that I know Emma is involved in and expert in, bioprocessing, analytical methods, data processing. And data processing is an area that loads of sectors are involved in standardization around the whole ICT, the whole digitization, big data community. There's a lot of work going on in data processing, so it's interesting to see the angle you take here in biotechnology. So these new standards, they will facilitate technological development. They'll support national and international competitiveness, contribute to regulations, and support the exchange of goods and services through the elimination of technical barriers to trade and supporting market access. That's a standard sentence I must have used 100 times. Elimination of technical barriers to trade and supporting market access is what standards are all about. That means for the consumer, the benefit of the technology. It means for the producer, the large markets globally and early access to the markets. And that's what standards can do. That, to my knowledge, in 10 years in this business, I haven't seen any other mechanism that can open markets as quickly and successfully. So again, acknowledge the expertise of all the people involved and really appreciate the group coming to Ireland because, of course, the whole pharmaceutical industry, and I see Matt Moore in there, who knows it better than anybody, is really strong and getting stronger every year in Ireland. We have something like, well, we do have 9 of the top 10 pharmaceutical companies. And if you don't like that stat, how about 18 of the top 20? 6 of the world's best-selling pharma products are produced in Ireland, primarily produced in Ireland. And in a small country like Ireland, the industry employs 50,000 people and contributes 445 billion. Not quite sure what, but it doesn't really matter if it's billion euro or billion dollars. It's a pretty big number, no matter what currency that is. But 45 billion of exports in a tiny economy with a gross domestic product of 170 billion euros. So it is huge here. Capital investment of the biopharmaceutical industry has been around 7 billion euro in new facilities in Ireland, and most of this has come in the last 10 years. That's probably the biggest wave of investment in biotech facilities anywhere in the world. Manufacturing excellence in biopharmaceuticals is a hallmark of Ireland's success in the sector. The biotech industry has grown here from 2 manufacturing sites in 2003, not that long ago, to something like 18 in 2015. So we're very proud of that, and by corollary, we're very proud of having the ISO committee here in Dublin this week, and we're very anxious, and I'd speak to the people from the industry in the room who are not as yet already involved. This is a huge opportunity, and with such numbers jumping off the page from Ireland, we should have a strong participation, strong activity in the area, and we in NSAI will be very happy to support that through our structures. Okay, so we do have expertise though. We have, I think at the moment, only 4 experts nominated to participate. That's a very small number, but hopefully that number is growing, and I hope that number is out of date. Maybe it's 8, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 40 at the end of the week. No, I'm getting a little shake of the head here. But we will manage to pay for the tea and biscuits if that number grows from 4 to 40. We really need people involved, and I think we should be able to do that and increase the participation. But we're delighted to have Emma Snapes here, who is one very active participant we do have from the Irish scene, and I would like to thank Emma in particular for her hard work and dedication. So if I have it correct, Emma, you're the manager of the Biobank, and very interested in banks. I am all the time, but you tell me you've no money whatsoever in this. But the Biobank in the Infant Centre in Cork, the University College Cork. So Infant stands for the Irish Centre for Fetal and Neonatal Translational Research. So it's Ireland's first dedicated perinatal research centre, and we're hugely proud of that, and it's great to have you here today, and it's great to have you involved in the work. So throughout the afternoon, you'll hear from Emma, you'll hear from lots of other participants in the work, and hopefully we'll give you a flavour of what can be achieved, what's going on, bioprocessing, analytical methods, all these different areas which are new to me, but have so much promise. And I'm sure you're thinking at this stage, well, that sounds great, but what's in it for me if I'm an Irish industry, an Irish-based industry? Well, as I said already, or intimated already, one of the strengths of international standards is that they're created by the people in the industry, in research, in manufacturing, in R&D. Industry experts drive all aspects of the process, not just in biotechnologies, but everywhere, and it really does work. Industry decides whether a new standard is needed. And don't forget that you do decide. It's not NSAI or it's not an international group. It's the users and the producers who decide. And you also decide what's the appropriate content and the appropriate technical input. So people tend to be a little bit kind of standoffish or a little bit fearful of this and say, oh gosh, this is regulation with an S instead of an R at the front of it. It's not. It's quite the reverse. Good standards, regulation is less. Bad standards or no standards, regulation is more. We've seen that time and time again. Standards do a whole load of very good things for you, for the industry. They give early access to information, and that helps shape the market. And actually, you're shaping regulations in the future the way you want to shape them. Instead of regulations shaping the market should shape the required regulations. It gives your company, if you're a developer, if you're getting involved, a voice in the development of the standards, which in turn then gives you a voice in the development of the markets behind it. And then you keep market access open for the industry. And there are also financial benefits, by the way. There are quite a number of studies done in recent times. We're doing one ourselves in NSAI, and you'll hear more about that in the next few months. But the French standards body, AFNOR, is there anybody from France here? One, okay, so I'll have to stay truthful, so there's a cross-check. But AFNOR did a study a number of years ago based on what's the benefit to an organisation from participating, and they estimated that it could be about 20% growth in annual sales. And that is through having that early information, having that influence, having that being on the inside rather than the outside. 20%, not to be sniffed at. As the late British Prime Minister Winston Churchill, who probably visited Dublin Castle at some stage, I'm not quite sure, but he said, it's always wise to look ahead, but very difficult to look further ahead than you can see. So this is a way to just project your horizon a little bit further. By participating in standards development, you will be able to see further. You will be able to see what's coming down the track, and most importantly, you'll be able to have your say on international best practice that will affect your industry. But I don't think you're here to listen to me talking about standards, but I would say just one last time, we've seen it in umpteen other sectors. And the McDonald there is the head of standards, Mary White is standards development. Talk to them in the coffee break. See how this has worked in other areas. And I think if you take the trouble to understand that, you'll be convinced that in biotechnology, the same thing can happen. It will happen. It will happen anyway over the next 5-10 years internationally, but make it happen with a strong Irish input. That would be my plea to you. So now I would like to maybe call Emma Snapes to come to the podium, if you will, and maybe just bring us through your own personal experience getting involved in the work, and hopefully you'll reinforce a little bit of what I've read.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.